So today we had our 2023 Pierce Enforcer platform truck delivered, and the difference between a truck and an engine is our platform truck has got a large ladder on the top of it. Platform is the bucket that sits on the front of that ladder that we can put people in, that makes it a little safer place for them to work when they're on this truck. But we just took delivery of it today. We have a couple more modifications and personalizations that we're going to put on it to make sure that it fits our crews and our equipment. But we took it in today and we're going over it and letting everybody see it and enjoy it.
Hi, my name is Mike Abbott. I'm the Division Chief of Operations with the Springfield Fire Department, and we're going to give you a walking tour of our newest truck company. It's a 100-foot platform built by Pierce Manufacturing. The apparatus incorporates a lot of new technology in it, as well as a lot of customization in the compartmentation for the storage of the equipment. This is a giant toolbox for the fire department, as well as having a giant ladder on top. So we need the storage space that's been designed into this. But if you'd like, we can go down the driver's side. I'll show you some of the compartmentation as we work our way up to the cab. So basically, starting in this compartment, this has been designed for our ventilation saws, and we've looked at the future of the fire service, so we've added electrical outlets in it for battery-powered equipment that is coming out now and in the future. So we've developed it for a little bit of future growth. This compartment will feature 2 swing-out tool boards. So that crews can have access to a variety of hand tools that will be mounted both on the front and back side of each tool board, as well as on the back wall, and then storage up above for what we call salvage pans. When we go to a structure fire and have to start removing debris, they'll have their home to ride to. Currently, the crew that's assigned to Truck 1, a lot of that style equipment, especially the salvage stuff, is stored up top, and we're trying to prevent firefighters from having to climb up on top of the apparatus as much as possible. This is where we get into even more customization. In here will be some storage options for the driver engineers, SCBA, and where they can put their rig gear, as well as a lot of the gear bags for tools that they carry, and additional storage for larger salvage shovels and their high-rise pack, which is a little bit different than what the engine companies carry, but it has its own personal home too. And then again, this compartment, a lot of customization with the shelving. It takes a lot of man hours to figure out what will fit in certain areas. So our apparatus committee had to devote a lot of time into thinking about things. We've had to measure every piece of equipment that goes on this rig to determine the setup for it. But in here, they'll have a lot of larger hand tools. They're battery-powered ventilation fans, so if your house is full of smoke, they'll have the ability to clear that out. And we've designed it so that they can charge that equipment up on the apparatus as well. They also have battery-powered scene lighting that they can take inside the structure as well as around the structure, and it's set up to charge those items also. Scene lighting on the apparatus has been vastly improved. We've got scene lights that are on the cab and go down the side of the body. So you'll see a scene light up there, scene light on the body, and a scene light towards the back. And that wraps all the way around the apparatus, including the bucket. Lots of extra lighting so that we can basically turn night into day when we're in nighttime fire operations. One thing that is new for the department is the design of the cab. We've tried to, especially on our new engine companies, shorten down the wheelbases as much as we can and still carry the equipment that we need to carry to the incidents. But this compartment right here was designed to get as much of the hand tools as possible out of the cab and give the firefighter the ability to access them from outside the vehicle without having to climb back up and get something. So here they'll have access to pike poles, extinguishers. One side will carry a water can, the other side will carry a CO2 extinguisher, and then some of the ancillary EMS equipment that they would have to carry as well will be on some of these shelves. Another big change is in the cab. We have set the seating up for the firefighters. Typically we've been rear facing, so our firefighters will be riding backwards. Now we're going to be forward facing, so the firefighters are seeing the same image that the driver, engineer, and captain are seeing as they're coming into an incident. That'll be advantageous to them for, one, being able to size up in their head the incident as they're seeing it on arrival, and help with the size up as the company is pulling in. So we've also put in storage compartments for EMS equipment that can be accessed both in the cab and outside the cab. And then above those boxes are smaller storage compartments for the ballistic equipment that we now have to carry, the ballistic helmets and the ballistic vest whenever we have hopefully we never have, but unfortunately we've experienced that once, a mass shooting event. This would be the exterior access for that same EMS compartment that you could see from inside the cab. So it gives the crew the ability to exit the vehicle without anything in their hands and then reach in and get the equipment. Hopefully that will lessen some of the slips, trips, and falls that we experience. And it's set up to charge some of that equipment, the cardiac monitors, the suction units that we carry for EMS purposes. Here, some of the things that we've done different. One thing that's never been done on most Springfield Fire Department apparatus is power windows and power locks. We decided to go with this option first after talking to our fleet maintenance to see if there was going to be any kind of maintenance issues in regards to power windows, power locks versus standard manual windows and locks. But during the rioting that occurred a couple years ago, some of the images that we were seeing out there in the media and social media had us start to question, how do we secure our cabs quickly in one of those events? And the fastest way to be able to do that would be with power windows and power locks, especially if our crew had to separate in the event of, say, an EMS call where two members have to ride in the back of the ambulance and the driver engineer is taking the apparatus to one of the local hospitals to pick up the crew. They're the only one in the cab. How can they secure the cab quickly? And this would be the fastest option to do that. Other things that are unique inside here, vastly improved HVAC system. One of the things that becomes a problem for the firefighters, especially on days like today when it's cold and wet, if we go fight a structure fire and we get back in the cab with our wet stuff on, the humidity coming off of us wants to fog up the windows. And obviously that can be a big problem, especially for the front windshield. The HVAC system now has been redesigned so that there are 6 vents that blow from the top down onto the windshield to help clear it out. Previous apparatus, they would have 2 vents that would be down on the dash. Sometimes those vents would get obscured from the equipment that we're carrying and we have to lay someplace. This way, we won't interfere with any of that air coming down, and there's a lot more vents located across the windshield to help clear that out. So we think that'll be another big improvement for the apparatus that are coming. For the truck companies in particular, there are 2 of them coming, the 100-foot platform you're seeing here, and then there will be a 107-foot straight stick, which means it won't have the big bucket on the end. We have improved the transmission on them. One of the members of our apparatus committee suggested that we step up the size of the transmission, which would help with the off-the-line power for acceleration. So we did choose that option as well. So that should improve the ability for the apparatus to get out the door quicker and respond quicker to an incident. There are backup cameras on all the new apparatus. The camera is visible from the driver engineer's position. Whenever the rig goes in reverse, the camera will activate. Whenever they turn their officer side or their right side turn signal on, there's a camera over on that side of the apparatus too, which is a blind spot for us. It will activate that camera so that the driver can see if there's anything within that blind spot. That should assist them greatly, especially when it comes to maneuvering in really tight areas. So, as these apparatus age, we end up with problems with door sensors that go bad. The red light that's in the cab will flash indicating if there's a door open, and sometimes when those sensors go bad, that light will flash saying, hey, there's a door open, even if there's not one. So we have provided a momentary switch in the cab that will disable that light so that the crew can still respond on their alarms and not have the light flashing in their eyes until they can get over to fleet services to determine what sensor is causing the problem and what needs to be repaired. The other big feature that is in all of the new apparatus is the HOS system. And that is a system that when we turn on our emergency lights, it is supposed to automatically start sending out a signal to vehicles that are utilizing newer infotainment centers, as well as cell phones. If you're using like a Waze map or Google Maps, it will send information out to those devices that's supposed to identify that an emergency vehicle is approaching, and I believe it will also provide which direction we're coming from. And then when we're on scene at an emergency, it will give an indicator that you're approaching an emergency scene. So that can be crucial to us as well. Hopefully allowing the public to know that we're responding a little earlier, and then as the driving public, especially on the interstates, are driving along, it gives them that clue and indicator that you're approaching an emergency scene so that you should slow down and anticipate that you're going to see people along the roadside.
So today we had our 2023 Pierce Enforcer platform truck delivered, and the difference between a truck and an engine is our platform truck has got a large ladder on the top of it. Platform is the bucket that sits on the front of that ladder that we can put people in, that makes it a little safer place for them to work when they're on this truck. But we just took delivery of it today. We have a couple more modifications and personalizations that we're going to put on it to make sure that it fits our crews and our equipment. But we took it in today and we're going over it and letting everybody see it and enjoy it.
Basically, again, a lot of customization for the compartmentation. In this particular compartment, I believe are going to be our Paratech rescue struts, which help us with stabilization. So they will now ride on a customized tool board. And then all of the ancillary bags and equipment that would help support that would be within this space. So the crew can go to one area to grab all that equipment. Even more customization in a compartment that typically on the previous trucks wouldn't have any of this stuff done to it. This allows us to kind of separate out some of the rescue equipment that will ride within this compartment here. There are several different items that the truck company carries that are designated towards rescue, whether it's high angle related rescue, below grade rescue, or just some of the standard ropes that they would have to carry for general operations on the fire ground, as well as some of the different like ice rescue suits, things like that will ride in this compartment as well, and different devices that they can use to help secure a patient if they're going to be doing one of those evolutions where it's either high angle or below grade. We've tried to use as much dead space as possible on it, so we have multiple locations for air bottle storage. and that occurs on both sides of the apparatus. Suspension system on it is air ride on the back, which will hopefully improve the longevity of the vehicle and lessen some of the damage that can occur from just general wear and tear. Keep in mind this vehicle weighs around 60,000, 65,000 pounds when it's loaded, and at times it's traveling at a decent rate of speed and hitting railroad tracks as well as potholes and things to that nature, which can be somewhat hard on the suspension system. We're hoping that the air ride suspension helps to improve some of that. All right, one thing that has also been added to this apparatus is the aerial walkway is lit green. All three truck companies for the Springfield Fire Department have aerial walkways that are lit with a LED light, and they're all three lit a different color. We chose green for this one so that when we have multiple aerials in the air during a large fire, the incident commanders as well as other members can distinguish between what truck is what. Control pedestal to operate the aerial features a few extra things on it that we haven't done in the past. One would be the evacuation horn button that in the event that the incident commander determines that he wants the crews out of the building, he'll announce an evacuation. The dispatch center will put out a tone across our radios, and then all the driver engineers are instructed to go to their apparatus and sound their air horn, and they're supposed to sound it 3 times. So we've placed a button at this pedestal for the aerial operator to be able to do that operation without going up to the cab. One thing at the pedestal too is we've installed a FireCom intercom system so we can talk to the crew up in the bucket, which is a standard option. It's on all of our other truck companies as well. But the apparatus will also incorporate a headset system that the crew can wear while inside the cab of the apparatus and be able to communicate hands-free amongst one another as well as over the radio system. And that headset system can even come outside the apparatus. A guy can wear it here at the turntable, and the other crew members can have them on up in the bucket, and they can have unimpeded conversations. Fireground is typically a pretty noisy environment, and by wearing those headsets, they can help to muffle out some of that noise and have clearer communications.
Truthfully, it's an updated version of what we had before downtown, but that one is almost 20 years old. And for us to be riding around in 20-year-old fire trucks, it gets expensive for us to keep those in service because there's lots of moving parts. It's obviously a specialized piece of equipment. So at some point it just costs more to keep them on the road than to just go ahead and make the investment in something new. So it's going to do the same thing that the other one did, but with new parts, and it's going to work a little bit better for us. There's always safety factors that every few years they come up with some type of new safety equipment that they put on fire engines and trucks, and that's some of the things that we have on this one. I'm sure that the guys the men and ladies who get to utilize the truck are more excited than I am, but we still get excited anytime that we get a good piece of equipment like this in. And but it's got that new fire truck smell, and everybody likes that. And but our people are really looking forward to getting it out there and running it around and seeing what it can do, what the differences are between it and some of our older equipment, see what the updates and upgrades are. So we're really looking forward. It'll probably be a few weeks before we have it ready to run every day out of Station 1 downtown, but I know that there's some people that are really excited to get on it.